Khajotia, she wanted me to speak something on modesty and humility. Humility. So I'll be speaking on that on Wednesday. Then Delna had asked me to say about the prelude to the prayer of repentance. I remember, I haven't forgotten. So I'll finish that also. And then the third one was who? Another Dilshad. She wanted me to speak on the 12 ways of realizing God. So I'll try to cover up all these three pending issues, which I call a clutter in my mind because I remember that I had to attend to that. So Wednesday, I'll try to finish that part. So today we are doing a very interesting chapter on destiny and chance. So, and by that, and one more, and then that should be the end of this book, and we'll see what we do next. So, Soumya will read now
Cyrus,
on
sorry.
destiny.
Can't hear anything, Cyrus. Can't hear.
Okay, Sam also to
Yeah, I just want to say, that, you know, this prayer of repentance,
yes.
that chiropractor, what's his name?
Harry Kenmore, Dr.
Harry
Harry
Kenmore.
Kenmore.
So he has, in the beginning of that prayer, he has said something about the sin, which is a Greek word for something and this and that. So can you please get that extract from somewhere and also incorporate or elaborate on that?
I am not exactly aware of what exactly you are trying to convey, but I will definitely call you up and then I will try to find out on the net.
Okay.
Surely, we'll do that surely.
Okay, thank you. Jai Baba.
Huh? Who cannot hear? I thought I was quite communicable because
Yeah, we can hear you now, Cyrus.
yeah, okay, lovely. Go ahead, Sonia.
Zia, you need to.
I think Zia logged out and came back.
Okay, fine.
Page 80 on destiny and chance. What is the difference between destiny and chance? Destiny is the divine law which guides us through our numerous existences. Every soul must experience happiness and unhappiness, vice and virtue from the commencement of evolution up to that goal, which is the realization of God. Chance is based on karma, that law of cause and effect which governs the events of our present life as well as those of our future lives. Through evolution, the soul receives by means of the spirit the impressions or sanskaras, the processes which create the experiences, and later the elimination of these impressions can be called chance. Destiny, or the goal that souls have to attain, is realization of God. But actually, chance is different for every individual. We can compare destiny to a load of, let us imagine, 700 tons of happiness and unhappiness, vice or virtue, which every soul has to carry throughout its existence. One soul carries 700 tons of iron, another soul the same weight in steel, others lead or gold. The weight is always the same. Only matter changes. The impressions of each individual vary and the acquired sanskaras form the structure and the condition of the future life of every individual. Meher Baba Journal, Volume 2, Number 6, April 1940, pages 353 and 354.
I think this is a very beautiful chapter, and of course, we have been doing this over and over again. That destiny for all is the same, the terminus, the end of the journey. And I keep repeating this, that there is no creature that is not destined for the supreme goal, as there is no river that is not winding its way to the sea. Every river finally winds itself to the sea. It doesn't go straight. It goes zigzag, zigzag, and winds itself. Meanders, correct. So every creature, everything that is created through the process of creation, evolution, reincarnation, involution, finally reaches the goal of realization. Whether you want it or not, whether you struggle not to get there, even then you will get there, because that is the blueprint, that is the plan. The plan is to consciously know I am God state. Simple as that. So destiny for all is the same. But just as different rivers from different places meanders in different manners, collecting a lot of garbage, collecting a lot of different silt, as we call it, in the same way, each and every creature, their their karma, their samskaras, their impressions, their actions determine what is the experience of the virtue or vice, of health and sickness, of being an Easterner and Westerner, of being a man and a woman, and all that. So basically, the destiny, chance, nasib, takdir, fate for each one is different based on each one's own karma, but the goal or the junction, the terminus, the destiny is the same. Many a times we very loosely use the word, oh, uska destiny mein aisa safar karne ka tha. Okay, fine, but that is not destiny. That is his faith. That is his nasib, his takdir, his luck, his karma, based on his own past actions. So your Baba says, what is the difference between destiny and chance? Can you hear me all? I think there's some problem with Zia.
Yes, we can hear.
You can hear. Okay, fine. Then I'll continue. Zia, sorry. Pia, can you just mute your mic? Thank you. Destiny is the divine law which guides us through our numerous existences. Destiny is the divine law which will guide us to make us reach the goal. Every soul must experience happiness and unhappiness, vice and virtue from the commencement of evolution up to that goal, which is the realization of God. In other words, if some rivers are apparently going against the direction of the sea is on the east, but the river is, zigzagging, you can say, on the west. We might immediately jump to a conclusion that this river is going in the wrong direction, is doing something wrong. But then it is actually finding its way or winding its way to the sea, and therefore we should not judge the river because it is finally going to the sea. In the same way, we should not judge anybody's behavior or anybody's action. Tracy, can you please mute your mic? Tracy, darling, thank you. Here Baba says each soul has to experience, I'm repeating, vice and virtue. That means all of us must have done something wrong, so-called vice, must be doing it now or must be even doing it later on. So it's all a combination of the so-called good and so-called bad, which every soul has to experience before it reaches its final destination. Chance is based on karma. That's what I said. Karma. That law of cause and effect, which governs the events of our present life as well as those of our future lives. Karma, in a certain way, before it is actually executed, you have a certain scope of doing something or not doing something. But having done something, it is like an impression, a print has been impressed on your mind, on your mental body, as a result of which that impression will never go away, will never be eradicated, will never be balanced out unless you experience the expression of that impression, or you counter it with another counter impression. We have done this over and over again, that with the proper understanding and intelligent use of the law of karma, man can become a master of his own destiny. So you can actually undo it. So here Baba says, chance is based on karma. What is karma? That law of cause and effect which governs the event of our present life as well as of our future lives. Through evolution, the soul receives by means of the spirit the impressions or sanskaras. Who gathers the impressions? Very important to know, not the soul, the spirit. We will go into the details a little on. The spirit is like the counterpart of the soul, like two sides of the same coin. The soul never gets affected in any way. The soul is unaffected, untouched, unscathed by anything. It is only the counterpart of soul which we call spirit, which incarnates. And that spirit, consciousness, mind, all these are all cousin brothers and sisters, and they are the ones who experience all this through the mind, through the subtle body, through the gross body. So here Baba says that through evolution, the soul receives by means of the spirit the impressions or samskaras. The process which create the experiences and later the elimination of these impressions can be called the chance. So what is chance? Chance, karma, naseeb, takdir, fate is nothing but gathering of impressions and unwinding of impressions through experiences. Taking an experience at the time of gathering the impression, taking another experience at the time of liquidating or balancing out that impression. Destiny or goal that souls have to attain is realization of God, but actually chance is different for every individual. Chance is different because the karmas are different, but destiny is the same because that is the goal, that is the whole purpose of creation. We can compare destiny. Baba gives a comparison. This is taken from the discourses. We can compare destiny to a load of, let us imagine, 700 tons of happiness and unhappiness, vice or virtue, which every soul has to carry throughout its existence. Throughout its existence means from the point of creation till the point of realization, 700 tons of load, weight, every soul. The combination of that weight will vary with each individual soul depending upon his own karma, his own impressions. One soul carries 700 tons of iron, another same weight in steel, others lead or gold. The weight is always the same. Only matter changes. Matter changes means the sanskaras, the combination, the what we call coagulated mold of impressions keep on changing every moment. It's not a question of life to life. Every moment, this moment, I did something nice, something good, something cultured, the combination changes. The next moment, I do something so-called bad, ugly, dirty, selfish, whatever. Immediately the mold changes. Constantly, the combination keeps on changing. The impressions of each individual vary, and the acquired sanskaras form the structure and the condition of the future life of every individual. That means moment to moment, you are either getting yourself bound or getting yourself freed, liberated, right? Every moment is a moment where either either the two things are happening. We are getting bound or we are getting liberated. The way to bind ourselves is to feel, think, and believe I am the doer. Anything, good, bad, ugly, I am the doer binding. The way to liberating yourself, Baba is doing through me. I am just an instrument in the hands of Baba. I am not the doer. It is He who is doing it. I am not affected, concerned, or in any way bothered about what the results are going to be of what I am doing. My job is to be an effective instrument in the hands of the Lord so that He can use me in the best possible manner. Period. That means when the I is not there, when the Kartutva Abhiman, as we call it, Karta is not there, then you are not bound. In fact, you are liberated. Why you are liberated is, I had explained this earlier, whatever samskaras which I have already wound are being expended, spent, used up on one side, and because I think that I am not the doer, fresh samskaras are not being bound. So that is one of the easiest, safest, surest, quickest way to liberate ourselves. Constant, wholehearted remembrance of Baba. Period. So there ends this first chapter on destiny and chance. Any questions there, or we move on to the other? Anybody has any questions on destiny and chance? It's very beautifully explained by Baba, and we all must make maximum use of it. Number one, by realizing that everybody is working out his or her own karma. Working out means he can only behave in that particular way because his or her karmas are such. The example that I gave was that the river is apparently going against the direction of the sea, but actually it is winding its way to the sea. Some people may be virtuous, some people may be vicious, some people are happy, some people are suffering. But at the same time, let us bear in mind that we have that spiritual hatyar, the spiritual wherewithal, the spiritual capacity to alter our preordained karma or samskaras through inputting spiritually matured karmas or samskaras that will gradually change the mold of our past samskaras. So there ends this. Anybody else? Anything else? No.
Sharan
Yes.
uncle, Jai
Hi,
Baba.
Kajal. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, this is a little silly, but is karma only doing or even the thoughts affect?
Everything. When I say doing, it means thought, feeling, emotion, speaking, doing.
So if you have a thought and don't put it into action,
Yeah, that's a better way of doing it, because see, there are two things. One is you have a thought and don't put it into action. First, it is the thought. Then it comes a desire, a longing, a craving to do a certain thing. And it happens very fast. The whole thing, the whole process may take a split second. And then you put it into action. But if you do not put that thought into action, then yes, that much of energy which was trapped in that particular samskaras have been released, and you overtook. You were very controlled. You did not put that into action, and so that particular energy in that particular thought or in that particular samskaras gradually diminish. Whether it be anger or jealousy or hatred or greed or pride or whatever it is, that will get reduced. Why? Because you have expended the energy, you have spent the energy, and you have not accumulated fresh similar energy through action. You felt angry, but you did not show your anger. If you were getting angry, then again those thoughts or those action of anger would have created further samskaras of anger, and they would have come and stood in the queue, and they make themselves into groups, like how we have, announcement group, Meher Baba, AV group, this group. So like that, they also have their groups, WhatsApp groups. So anger, they will all go and clutter in one place. Jealousy, hate, what all that. So they become stronger and stronger like that. But if you do not put it into action, then they become weaker. Like how we delete all the useless things that come good morning, good morning, good morning, good evening, good night. We delete. So what happens? It becomes lighter and lighter. So answering your question, Kajal, if you get a thought, I'm saying get a thought, not inviting a thought, not playing around with the thought. Because if you do that, then you do incur mental samskaras, which are of course feeble and weaker. But if you get a thought and you do not put it into action, that's excellent. Okay,
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
welcome. So now,
Aarti, what is the meaning of frozen? Aarti, Raija.
Soumya, she can't hear, so I asked her to exit and come back.
Okay, okay.
okay,
Thank you, dear.
all right, next. Nobody. Okay, then we go ahead to the next chapter.
On life after death. What does Sri Meher Baba think about life after death? The semi-subtle sphere is the chain that links the physical material world to the subtle plane. During our habitual dreams, we make use of the subtle body, and in a subconscious way, we perceive sensations belonging to the physical material world. In certain conditions, it is possible to make conscious use of the physical senses in such a way that we can contact the semi-subtle sphere. We can, through this fact, enter into communication with the spirits of the dead. These spirit communications have nothing to do with spiritual life, nor with subtle spirit, nor with the spiritual planes. There is a vast difference between the subtle sphere and the semi-subtle sphere. After death, the spirits of human beings, except for those who have sufficiently progressed on the spiritual path and are beyond the fourth plane, reach the semi-subtle sphere. According to their sanskaras, they go to heaven or to hell, and when they achieve the point they had to attain, they can return to earth with a new body, reincarnate, or otherwise they return to the semi-subtle sphere for a certain time. These spirits are, so to say, in the antechamber of the semi-subtle sphere, and one can enter into contact with them through the means of spirit communication, whether they have achieved their period of joy or pain and wait for a new birth, or whether they are on this point of going to heaven or hell. The semi-subtle sphere, heaven or hell, with their respective experiences, have no reality. They are merely joys and pains experienced through the organs of the subtle body. It is advisable to attribute only relative importance to certain descriptions of life after death, although they may be exact. Spiritually evolved persons can communicate with high spirits, but it is preferable if they abstain. Human beings can never enter into communication with the high spirits who belong to the subtle, mental, or spiritual planes, because even if they have to reincarnate, they do not sojourn in the antechamber of the semi-subtle sphere. Meher Baba Journal, Volume 2, Number 7, May 1940, pages 415, 416.
Beautiful chapter, very interesting, on life after death. Now one must remember that this death that Baba talks about is the ordinary death and not the real death. We have been speaking about the real death. The real death is the finale, final death of individuality, the death of separateness, the death of finitehood, the death of anything that is limited, the death of all the desires, the death of the limited, egocentric, finite mind. That is, Baba doesn't talk about that death in this chapter. He talks about the normal death that we understand death. That means the death of the physical body. We have got three bodies, the gross, the subtle, and the mental. Sthul, Shukshma, Mana, three bodies. And when we so-called die, as the death that is talked about now, only the physical body is left in the physical world, gross world, whether it is cremated or buried or other means of disposal of the dead, that doesn't matter. But the astral body, that is the subtle body and the mental body, continues its journey onwards for a certain length of time and then again reincarnates, and this goes on and on and on, almost infinity, not infinity because the end has to come, but several thousands of times. In fact, Baba talks about the 84 lakhs of reincarnation processes. So what does Sri Meher Baba think about life after death? Now the word Sri Meher Baba, because in the earlier days, Baba was just referred to as Shri. Shri ne kya bola, Shri ne kya bataya. And then at some places, Shri Baba or Shri Meher Baba. So this is of which time?
1940.
Oh, 1940. By 1940, he was known as Meher Baba only. But anyway, somebody has used the question, what does Shri Meher Baba think about life after death? So first, if Baba were to be asked this and Baba was asked this, he would normally reply, I don't have to think. I know. Thinking process means we all think because we do not know. But when you are one with everyone and everything, then you become knowledge itself. And then there is no process of thinking. Thinking is for us. All right. The semi-subtle sphere is the chain that links the physical world to the subtle plane. Last time or sometime before I explained that there are gross plane, subtle plane, and mental plane, and then the plane of reality or truth, right? Between the gross and the subtle, there is what is known as the semi-subtle plane. It's also called the astral plane. It is like an antechamber, the backside of this subtle plane, the lower aspects of the subtle plane. Once I also explained about the egg, the shell being the gross, the white inside being the subtle, and the yellow or whatever you call it, orange or whatever. Nowadays you get even blue, green eggs. That is the mental. But between the shell and the white, there is a very thin membrane. That is, Baba explained this in this way. That is the semi-subtle world or the astral world in which the disembodied souls, in other language, souls that are not advanced spiritually, like you and I don't know if you are advanced, but I am not. When we die, and if we have not remembered to remember Baba in the last breath, then we go into that membrane or what is known as the astral world or semi-subtle world and stay there for a certain period of time and then go on to enjoy heaven or hell and then again come back in that antechamber and take a birth. So that is the process. So your Baba says the semi-subtle sphere is the chain. That means it's the link that links the physical material world to the subtle plane. During our habitual dreams, we make use of the subtle body and in a subconscious way, we perceive sensations belonging to the physical material world. In other words, what Baba is saying is that in dream, we are using the subtle body in a subconscious way, using the subtle eyes and the subtle nose and the subtle mouth and the subtle ear, because our eyes, nose, mouth, everything is closed. And yet we are seeing something. We are walking, we are going from one place to another in a dream. So what is it that we are using? we are using the subtle senses in a subconscious manner, and that is why, that is what is called dream. Now a person who is spiritually advanced and who is actually in the subtle plane will use all these faculties consciously. They have control, whereas in our dream we have no control. I'm sure you all experience, we all have dreams jumping from one subject to another subject randomly without any sense sometimes. But the most important thing here is that even though we are using the subtle senses, the experiences that we experience in the dream pertain to the gross world. We do not dream of the subtle experiences. We are using the subtle senses, but we are experiencing the gross world in a subconscious manner. I hope I'm very clear about this. So here Baba says that we perceive sensations belonging to the physical material world. We do not perceive the senses of the subtle or the mental world because we have not yet gone into that domain, into that sphere. In certain conditions, it is possible to make conscious use of the physical senses, conscious use of the physical senses in such a way that we can contact the semi-subtle sphere. That means the same thing as auto writing or clairvoyance or clairaudience or anything of that sort. They may not be termed proper occult as such, because the proper occult comes only when you enter the spiritual plane. But in your gross physical world, using the gross physical senses, in the conscious state of mind, there are chances that some people are able to contact the disembodied souls who are in this semi-subtle or astral world. That's what Baba is trying to say. Okay, we can, through this fact, enter into communication with the spirits of the dead. We can get into that. These spirit communications have nothing to do with spiritual life. Just because somebody is able to communicate to a spirit on the other side does not mean that it is a spiritual life. It has nothing to do with spiritual life, nor with subtle spirit, nor with the spiritual planes. Subtle spirit means spirits in the subtle world, and spiritual planes means all the planes starting from first to the sixth. There is a vast difference between the subtle sphere and the semi-subtle sphere. That's what we have been repeatedly saying it, that just because somebody has died does not necessarily make him now a spiritually advanced soul. No, that spiritual advancement has to be had in the physical body only. You do not progress spiritually once having dropped the spiritual body. Here Baba says, after death, the spirits of human beings, except for those who are sufficiently progressed on the spiritual path and beyond the fourth plane. That means those who have progressed beyond the fourth plane of consciousness do not enter the astral or the semi-subtle world and do not experience the heaven or the hell state in the semi-subtle or the astral world. But other than those who are spiritually advanced, go into this astral or semi-subtle world. I repeat the whole sentence. After death, the spirits of human beings, except for those who have sufficiently progressed on the spiritual path and are beyond the fourth plane, reach the semi-subtle sphere. That means all those people who are gross conscious human beings, after they drop their bodies, reach the semi-subtle or the astral sphere. According to their sanskaras, they go to heaven or hell, inverted comma. They are not places, they are states of mind. According to their sanskaras, they go to heaven and hell, and when they achieve the point they had to attain, they can return to earth with a new body, that means reincarnate, or otherwise they return to the semi-subtle sphere for a certain time. In other words, in my understanding, after remaining in the so-called astral or semi-subtle world, they experience the state of heaven or the state of hell, which are mental states depending upon their prepondering samskaras. Prepondering samskaras means which samskaras are heavy. Based on the heaviness of those samskaras, if the samskaras, good samskaras, are heavy, they experience the state of heaven. If the so-called bad samskaras are heavy, in the taraju, as we call it, in the scale, then they experience the state of hell. And as they are experiencing, what should I say, the joys or the suffering, which are manifold than what they experience in the gross body, because grossness is a kind of a buffer, a kind of a buffer. Yeah, you can say buffer. Whereas there, just the thought of enjoyment, and you enjoy that thing, whether it be music, whether it be eating, whether it be sightseeing, whether it be anything, you enjoy that in multiple effects. So as you are enjoying the manifold effect, as you are enjoying the scale which is imbalanced, now gradually coming to balance, and as it is about to be balanced, and sometimes it may trip on the other side, then the residual samskaras, they become the basis of your new body and your new life, which we call reincarnation. So here Baba says that is how it is. These spirits are, so to say, in the antechamber of the semi-subtle sphere, and one can enter into contact with them through the spirit, through the means of spirit communication. That means what I understand Baba saying is that only those who are in the antechamber of the subtle sphere, which is called the astral world or the semi-subtle world, they can communicate with those in the gross world, and not the spirits who are highly advanced. Why? Because they never entered the antechamber, which is called the semi-subtle or the astral world. So whether they have achieved the period of joy or pain, that means they have achieved that and they are waiting, or they have just come and they are on their way to, it's like a, what should I say, like a lobby of a hotel, when you want to get yourself registered, you wait a little while on the lobby, then you go to your room, then you enjoy your heaven on hell, and when you are again going to be, what should I say, what do you say when you leave hotel, anyway, when you are leaving hotel again, to go again to your hometown, again you are waiting for the taxi to come and ferry you or take you to the airport or whatever it is. So this is the waiting period, during which time Baba says you can communicate to these souls. So either they achieve their period of joy or wait for the new birth, or whether they are on the point of going to heaven or hell. Both ways, going and coming, when they are in antechamber, they are communicable. The semi-subtle sphere, the semi-subtle sphere, heaven or hell, with their respective experiences, have no reality, and they are merely joys and pains experienced through the organs of the subtle body. They have no reality. They are in the domain of illusion. They are nothing to do with spirituality. They are experiences in the subtle body, and their experience is manifold because the gross body is absent. It is advisable to attribute only relative importance to certain descriptions of life after death. There are many books that are written about life after death. They talk about uh, gardens and beautiful flowers and fountains and music and birds chirping and sufficient water and no water shortage, pure air. All these experiences are narrated by those people on the other side to us on this side, and they have only relative importance. Or Baba says, although to a certain extent these descriptions may be exact, but you need not give any undue importance to it. Why? Because they are as much in the domain of illusion as our experiences here in this world of gross forms. So, in other words, heaven, hell, angels, archangels, ascended masters, descended masters, planets, stars, what they call it, group souls, soulmates, and what all these nomenclatures are there. All this, all there's another word also. The spirit guides. There's a lot of disturbance coming in. Spirit guides, all, all, all are in the domain of illusion. Let's understand that. It is advisable to attribute only relative importance to certain descriptions of life after death, although they may be exact. Spiritually evolved persons can communicate with high spirits, but it is preferable if they abstain. That means those who are spiritually advanced and they are living in the gross world, they can communicate with the high spirits on the other side. But Baba says that it is advisable that they abstain from such communication. Human beings can never enter into communications with the high spirits who belong to the subtle, mental, or spiritual planes. That means human beings like you and I cannot communicate with spirits who are high spirits, who are already in the subtle world or the mental world or the supramental world. That means the spiritual planes. Human beings cannot communicate. Baba says. Now there are so many people who say messages. I am a what is it called, channel. I am channeling this master. I am channeling that master. I really don't know. I don't want to comment on this because I am purely, utterly, thoroughly ignorant about this. I am simply doing my role of reading out what the highest of the high has stated during his physical ministry on earth. I repeat, human beings can never enter into communication with the high spirits who belong to the subtle, mental, or spiritual planes because even if they have to reincarnate, they do not sojourn in the antechamber. They never go into the antechamber, which is the semi-subtle or the astral world, through which and during which time the spiritual communication is possible. They are always on very high level and they directly reincarnate without passing through the astral or the semi-subtle world. So here Baba says, because they do not sojourn in the antechamber of the semi-subtle sphere. Now this was given in Meher Baba Journal, Volume 2, number 7, May 1940, page 415 and 416. Any questions?
Yes, Rishi, I have a question.
Please, Rakesh.
Jai Baba.
Jai Babaji.
So this, from the starting point to the terminus, you explained that Baba has explained the sanskara load is 700 tons.
Yes.
Is there a breakup among all the planes from, gross to the seventh?
No.
No idea.
Not no idea. Baba says the load is no breakup. The load is constant. The load is constant. But no, the contents will change, but there is no breakup given.
Okay.
Got it, Rakesh? No, no breakup.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, dear.
Can I say something?
Please ask.
We have more scope to do good in this physical form than after death. You mean to say, no?
Sorry, come again, please.
We have more scope to do good now
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
than in this physical
Yes,
form
yes,
as you and me than after death.
After that, there is no question of scope. After that, you are either enjoying the fruit, or suffering the karela which you have sown over.
So might as well do now good.
Might as well.
Might as well do good now.
Yes, of course. Like how you are doing just now, Katie.
What am I doing?
You are doing good work now, no?
I'm working.
Of course.
But
Doing it. Yeah. 1 minute. Let me complete her. Yes, what you are saying is absolutely correct.
We
Absolutely.
might as well do now then because
Yes,
you have no
yes.
chance later on. So you might as
Absolutely.
well be alert.
Yes,
And
yes.
the whole thing comes to that.
Correct.
But-
You are absolutely right, Katie.
Also, one more thing, this is Mansi.
Hey, 1 minute. Let me complete this, Katie.
Yeah,
So
this
unless
what
I get
KT
the
auntie
mic-
is saying,
Unless
Cyrus
I get
uncle.
1 minute. Unless I get the mic on for Katie, I will not move on to somebody else.
Okay, I'll switch off. Sorry.
No. It is not a sorry. It's a signal to me that you have finished, so I can go to somebody else. Because I don't want to jump you. I don't want to break your train of thoughts. Once you are complete, you put on the mic, so I know you are satisfied that yes, what you are saying is correct. You must do good over here. Absolutely correct.
Because then we have no chance.
Yeah, correct. Thank you.
It's okay.
Mic on. Thank you. Okay,
Now,
ma'am.
I just want to add to what KT auntie wanted to say.
Yes.
As since Baba says very clearly that he is only present in the present. So we don't even know what is the future or the past. I mean, we don't know what the future holds.
Yes, correct.
So,
I agree with you also. Yes, because the present is the only moment where you can do something,
yes.
including putting on the mic.
okay, one thing I need to know.
Okay. Go ahead. Ram.
In the astral world,
Sorry.
when the soul or the spirit or whatever is going through purgatory, my understanding is that the sanskaric load is also getting reduced. Otherwise, it can't be balanced, or the scale is changing. That means the load is changing, which is constantly decreasing even in the astral world.
Right.
So, I mean, the soul suffers less in this world.
Yes,
it suffers
absolutely.
more in the astral world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Baba says that body is such a buffer, that it
Correct.
reduces the suffering and even reduces the joy. But once you go there, it is multiplied manifold. Both the happiness and the suffering.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you.
Okay, Rakesh. Thank you.
Cyrus?
Ram, 1 minute, please. Ram has been fingering me for a long time. Yes, Ram, go ahead. Go ahead.
I lost my train of thought. So let me think about what you want to ask.
Okay, no. How can
Anyway, when it comes back, I'll again show
you are
you.
getting
Where's
old,
my
Ram.
finger?
Ram, you are like me getting old.
I am old.
can I-
Probably
can I
older
ask
than you are.
Dinku, 1 minute. Dinku wants to ask something.
He got that.
Yeah.
1 minute.
I want to know, has Baba said anything about do our sanskaras depend upon the time you take to reincarnate in another life? Or is it like a flexible period from the time you go into the other world and come back?
If you are asking me a direct question, how long does it take to reincarnate? Is that what you are asking?
Yeah, sort of. Does it depend
Yeah,
on
sort of. So
individual
it will
souls?
differ from person to person. If I were to ask you, when a small baby is born, how long is he going to live? What will you say? It will depend upon his takdir, correct? So what is that takdir? The samskaras that he has brought to be utilized. In the same way, when we go back to the other side, depending upon the prepondering samskaras, if I have done a lot of good, let's say, that means I will take a long time to enjoy that good. Am I making sense?
Yes, thank
So
you.
that will take a long time for me to reincarnate. But if my samskaras are very much balanced, for example, it is good to be balanced. If everything that I do and I say I'm not the doer, Baba is doing it, then what happened? My samskaric plate or scale is almost near balance. So when I go on the other side, I will have very little of enjoyment or very little of suffering, and I'll come back again. It all depends upon what is the load of your samskara. Got it?
Yeah. Thank you.
Ram.
Thank
Ram,
you.
go ahead.
Yeah, finally I remembered.
Good.
So, you answered, Katie asked a question saying that, oh, we have to do good, this, we won't get a chance again. But is that true? If you don't do good, in this lifetime,
No.
maybe,
What she
you
was
have a chance in the next lifetime.
what she said was chance on the other side. On the other side. That means after that, there is no question of doing good or bad. There it is only the hisab kitab. The auditor general will come and sit and check our accounts, isn't it? So
Right.
what she said was in the gross form only. But I would go one step forward and say, why do you want to do good work? Do God work. Because when you do God's work, that means that you're not doing good. So when you're not doing good, you do not incur the samskaras of doing good. And that to that extent, it is good that you don't get the samskaras. I don't know if I'm making sense. Katie, am I making sense? That even good binds, what I'm trying to convey is even good actions bind us with golden chain, good chain. But why do you want to be bound? The better idea would be to think that it is Baba who is doing through you. So you won't even get the good samskaric impressions, which is what our aim should be.
Yeah.
Okay.
It has to be with good intention also.
Yes.
Not just doing, yeah.
Good intention and no bad extension.
Acha,
One-
Dilshat is asking, is
Jai
this
Baba.
mean soul has
Can I?
an angel?
1 minute. Dilshat Kapadia is asking, angel, well, I don't know. See, all these angels, Farvarish, soul guides, what is that, what is the name? Some
Pravarshi,
spirit guides, all these are there. Angels are there, fairies are there. Pari is also there. Here also one Pari is here. Pari means fairy. But they are in the domain of illusion. They are souls in the subtle and the mental world. These are the nomenclatures given. If you read the book called Nothing and the Everything, you will get to know much more about these things. Which Bauji claims that this is 10% of what Baba has written in his book, but in the book. Okay, if the question is whether Farvarish, angel, all that is, it is there. It is there, but where? In the domain of illusion. Why do we need to get enmeshed in all these soulmates and spirit guides and ascended masters, angels, archangels? They are there. They are helpful. They are beautiful. It's very intriguing. You feel so nice that somebody is looking after me and that hand is there. Fine, I'm not disputing that at all. But again, we must remember that we are with the highest of the high. Beyond that, nothing is there. Nothing is beyond him. Nothing. So when we have got the chance to cling to the root of the main tree, the big tree called creation, why do we run after the branches and the leaves and the other parts of the tree? Just catch hold of the root, and that is sufficient to take care of everything. But we want something, we want some farvarish, somebody, what is that called? Whatever, some farishta, some this, some that.
Pravarshi.
They are there. I'm not saying no. They are there. But
Cyrus, they are there in the subtle and the mental world. As yet, it is in the domain of illusion.
yeah, absolutely, utterly, because the mental world is in the domain of illusion. That's what I'm saying.
Cyrus ji, I'm thoroughly confused today.
I'm
because
glad.
For the first time,
For once, I could thoroughly confuse Dilshat because she's so intelligent. I was trying this for a long time.
No, for the first time, I heard the word astral, and for the first time, there is something like spirit, And then the question is, from astral world, does it go to the subtle world, the semi-subtle to subtle, or it comes back to earth?
Comes back to earth. That's why Baba said there is a world of difference between the semi-subtle and the subtle world. World of difference. Don't ever think that because you are in the semi-subtle world, immediately aisa dhakka maar ke you'll go into the subtle world. For going into the subtle world, you have to come back into the gross and earn that going into the subtle world through so-called, through thinning out or loosening off or wearing out of the gross samskaras. That is the only way we can go. The other way is, why do you even bother about it? The other way is just keep on holding on to Baba. Don't think these are all theoretical, intellectual concepts. Yeah, go ahead.
So, but in that case, if there is something like an anti-chamber, then that should be discussed at all over. No, this is the first time that there is something like an astral world that is being introduced, in my opinion.
I've been repeating it over. You and I have gone into that for many millions of times, but we don't remember. And I'm sure it will come in. Are you attending God Speak? Because I don't know. In God Speak,
yes,
it is very much there. It has to be. It should be there, yes. Because that is the go between the gross and the subtle, the so-called semi-subtle or the astral world, when the disincarnate souls go and enjoy or suffer and come back. Got it?
So when you're saying enjoy and suffer,
enjoy or suffer, not and or.
Yes, what I'm saying is that here in the gross world we have our five senses. In that, is it what we enjoy here? We enjoy the same thing or different component? It's a different dimension. It's a different world where human beings are different.
Let me tell you. You will enjoy through the means of your subtle senses, but only get the experiences of the gross. You cannot enjoy the subtle plane because you won't get the subtle smell and the subtle sight and the subtle hearing because you have not entered the subtle plane. You will use those senses because gross body is not there. So how will you see with your gross eyes or hear with your gross ears? No. So you will use.
And what is it that we enjoy?
You will use the subtle plane. You will use the subtle senses in the semi-subtle world, but the experiences of enjoyment or of suffering will be connected with the gross. Am I making sense now or confused you still further?
Cyrusji, can you give an example?
The example very simple is, now today when you go to sleep, you will dream something. Am I right? Yesterday night, I dream a lot. Yesterday night when you dreamt something.
Yes, I dreamt.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It will be only.
Very funny dream.
Did it pertain to anything out of the gross world? No. You dreamt only of the gross world. Something connected with gross. Am I right? Am I right?
Yes, yes.
You dreamt something of the gross. Now when you were dreaming, you were seeing something. Were you seeing something in the dream?
Yeah, there was some incident that was happening.
But your eyes were closed. So how can you see? Your eyes, your physical eyes, your physical. So that is not the mental eye. That means you were using the subtle senses in a subconscious manner to experience the gross world experience in the so-called dream state. Am I now understandable? In the same way, when we drop our physical body, we will experience like a dream only, but it will be multiplied manifold. The joys will be multiplied manifold if your prepondering samskaras are apparently good, and in the same way, your suffering will be manifold if your prepondering negative or bad samskaras, vicious samskaras are heavy. Yes, go ahead.
So my connection and my relationship still exist with the ones on the earth. Say I'm having a great time now, I'm supposed to experience that great time in the antechamber, but it is with XYZ person. So does my connection stay with that gross person? And then that becomes very scary. My grandmother who's gone is having fun at my I mean, I'm confused.
Well, to the best of my understanding, you only experience a state of heaven, which is joy, or a state of hell, which is suffering, through your subconscious mind, which is multiplied manifold. And my understanding would be that you simply enjoy that. It may or may not have, I don't know. My answer is I don't know, frankly. But you will be enjoying only things which are connected with the gross and not the subtle. And once having enjoyed thoroughly based on your pen, which pen is heavy, you will again be prepared to take another form, another body, which we call reincarnation, based on the balance, residual samskaras which are left unenjoyed, unattended. Based on those samskaras, you will be born in a particular place, in a particular family, based on where these samskaras will get the optimum opportunity of being experienced. And that is why, in that sense, you come again and again. You say that so-called, we call it group souls. That you keep coming over and over again. My mother would be my mother-in-law, my son would be my this would be like. Why? Because there are so much of adan pradan that has to go on between those samskaras. Got it? So by and large, you keep,
yes.
You keep, by
No,
my understanding, again, I'm saying, you keep taking reincarnation in that group.
The only question that still I am not very clear is that, say for two people, they are having a tiff. Now that person has enjoyed, goes back there and is enjoying, and the person who's the other one who's not happy is still there. Does that enjoyment affect the unenjoyment? That is my...
No, the point is, I don't know if you are asking is that, see, sometimes, let me understand the question first. Somebody is saying in between, anybody wants to help answer?
Somebody's mind.
Okay. Sorry,
can
you, Mayor Krupa, just a moment. I'll come to you. Yes, Dilshad, ask the question.
I also would like to ask a question.
Yes, Priya. I will. First, let Dilshad finish. Her finger doesn't go down at all.
Yeah, last question for her.
Okay, Dilshad, go ahead.
The same thing about the two people fighting. You were saying something about it. That's okay. We can discuss later.
No. Let us fight now only. What is it that you were asking?
No, the question I asked, which you were in the process of answering, was that when that person who's enjoying, which is relative to the person who's still on earth, whether that link is still maintained. That means if my father is happy or unhappy, but whichever way, and I'm here, his happiness, unhappiness affects me on earth. That was the question.
These are all independent accounts.
They're mutually exclusive.
It's not like a joint account of the bank or something like that. Your first name, your account is different, second is different. It doesn't mean that he's enjoying or he's suffering will affect you. No, I don't think so. No. It is something like,
because on earth it is visually.
No. Today sorry, I'm taking a little time. I know. Today I got a WhatsApp, where husband and wife are sleeping, and all of a sudden the wife gets up and slaps the husband. And he said, "Why are you slapping me?" He said, "In my dream I saw that you were going about like this." Bichara, wo bolta hai, Baba, that was your dream. Why are you slapping me? I am responsible for my dream, not what you are dreaming. And then she slaps again and says, "But if you can do this in my dream, what you must be doing in your dream?" You see, are you getting what I'm saying? So these are, nobody is laughing. That means my joke has fallen.
No, I got it.
Okay. Now I think Priya has something to ask. Mayor Kripa, you want to say something or ask something?
Yeah. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
You said that with the balance or residual sanskaras, the reincarnation happens.
Yes.
So balance or residual sanskaras, does that mean then semi-sphere world or astral world, the sanskaras are spent? It's not possible. It's only
No. First of all, balancing will never happen either there or even here.
not balancing, balanced or residual samskaras when we
Yes,
say
the residual samskaras means
diluted
just
samskaras.
just look at my hands. Here, this is there. You
Yeah.
know, pen. Now this is my heavy. That means I am enjoying happiness. Now gradually, as I am enjoying, the pen is going up, about to be balanced. So now there's a residual negative samskaras this much. Now according to that balance of negative samskaras, where it has the connection where I can utilize that most, I'll be born in that family, in that state, in that country, in that continent, in that whatever it is. And mostly it will be associated with the people whom I am associated with, but not necessarily always. It can be different. Like if A has murdered B, let us say, then B does not have to, A does not have to be murdered by B. It can be a C who is having a similar samskara who can balance out those samskaras. Am I making sense, Megrupa?
Right. But that dilution, you say, na, the sanskaras are diluted by experiencing in the astral world.
Not diluted, actually utilized, spent.
Without body, it is spent.
Yes. Only one-way traffic. See, in the heaven or hell state, you do not incur fresh samskaras in the heaven and hell state. Also in the dream state, when you are dreaming in the normal human body, you only spend the samskaras. You do not accumulate fresh samskaras. That is why I sleep most of the time, so that I dream a lot and I utilize my samskara in dream without accumulating fresh samskara. Got it? Megripa, you got it or not? Oh, all stuck up. Anyway, Priya asked. Priya?
Jai Baba.
Yes, Jai Baba.
I wanted to know, now we are discussing all this and we understand it well intellectually more than actually living it.
I agree.
I wanted to know now, suppose after we die and we go and we get reborn again,
Yes.
Has Baba said anything about whether is there any way that we know that we would be following Baba again, or we would know what we know, remember what we know, have learned in this life, in the next life to move forward that way?
Yes, Baba did say that so far as spirituality is concerned, all that you have acquired and learned spiritually, you can just pick on from where you have left and move further. In the same way, if you have been following Baba, and in my understanding, when you come again, when you reincarnate, you will somehow catch up with that particular form of God, which we call Meher Baba, and move on further. But I would ask you one thing, why do you want to come again? Why can't you just remember Baba and take his name at the time of breathing your last and just pop off to him for eternity and enjoy eternal bliss, infinite bliss rather, eternally.
I'm already trying to do that all the time. So I keep telling my husband that I'm going to take Baba's name and not come back.
Great.
But just in case I do, I just want to make sure I'm still following him.
Yeah. Keep that on. Okay, Nori has two hands, two fingers. Go ahead, Nori.
Two questions.
Yeah.
No, somebody, you just said, if in this lifetime, for example, if I murder somebody,
yes,
and in the next lifetime, that somebody else may, doesn't they get an opportunity to balance their karma?
Yes.
Because they have to, they may have to kill me. They may, or if they don't kill me but kill somebody else, then they are acquiring, no, I will tell you. Let me finish. I'm not done.
Go ahead.
If you take Ramayana, in Ramayana, Ram kills Wali, hiding behind a tree, right? And the Lord, when he was reborn as Krishna, Wali is born as what? Jira, the hunter. So, and the Lord tells him, says, when he was crying, he says, don't worry, this is karmic balance. I killed you hiding behind a tree. I'm giving an opportunity to kill me to balance my karma. So that's what he tells him.
Are you through?
So, I'm confused about this, but we'll take it up later.
No. Because we never know. Next time, according to Baba's sources, he says that if A has murdered B, it is not necessary that B and A have to be born in the same time at the same place.
That's
for
true.
B to again murder A. Baba has said this.
Yeah.
Anybody else can also do this, and you can get your experience of being murdered by balancing out the experience of having murdered somebody. But that's one way of adjusting. The other way could be that you can save somebody's life. You kill somebody. Now you're going out of the way to save somebody's life. That also balances out your past karma. That is what Baba says in the discourses. Okay, now what's your second question? You forgot. Second question. You did like this, no?
I was just kidding. Oh, sir, now that you asked me, so you said Jeff's going to talk tomorrow?
No, what you are saying about Rama and Krishna, I agree. That is there in historical record. But now I am following the latest Rama and Krishna, both combined into one, as Meher Baba, and he has said that it is not sometimes possible for both these souls to be born at the same time, at the same place, in order to equate the adan-pradan of karma, and therefore that is not necessary. Somebody else with the similar karmas can also help you to adjust the balance, right?
Yeah, I believe you.
Tomorrow Jeff is there.
Can
right?
I say something?
Jeff who? Jeff.
Namita, you want to say something?
Yes, sorry.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
listened to this talk of, I think his name is Mr. Irwin Luck.
Yes.
And he's a living example because he said that Baba used to call him and his twin brother the divine idiots because in their past life, they were in neighboring countries or something, and they were always at loggerheads with each other. So this time, this life, they're born together to make up for it, and they're born as twins who really love each other.
True. Yeah. That's why I said when we talk about the group souls, by and large, they move together so that you get an opportunity to balance out your karma. Right? Yeah. When you hate somebody or when you love somebody, it's a question of balancing out the karma. So I think we call it a day now today. Tomorrow is Jeff coming. I'll be there, of course.
Jeff who?
Wolverton.
Oh, Wolverton. Okay.
Yeah. Hey Baba to everybody.
Hey Baba, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Avatar Meher Baba.
Hey, Baba.
Everybody. Thank you.
Hey, Baba, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jai Baba.
Jai Meher Baba. Jai Meher Baba.
Jai Baba.
Thank
Jai
you.
Meher Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.